Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut a simple underbust corset dress. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So here on my pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and my shoulder to top length, which is about 5 inches away from my waistline. So the next step I want to take is to go ahead and mark my shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2. I have 7 inches, and I'll come down by 1 inch. And I'm going to connect drawing a shoulder slope. So after I'm done doing that, the next step is to find your chest line, which is your armhole, and to get that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, I have 7 inches, and I'm just going to connect and draw out a straight line that will be forming my chest line. So after I'm done doing that, I'll divide my armhole into 2 this way, fold my tape, and I'm going to mark, and I'm going to come out by ½ inch to enable me draw my armhole curve. So after I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 at my chest line. Go ahead to place my curve to connect for the ½ inch to that bust circumference and connect upwards. So this is what I have on the pattern right now, and the next step you want to take is to mark your bust span divided by 2. My bust span divided by 2 is 3.5, or nipple to nipple divided by 2 is 3.5, because mine is 7 inches. So after marking that, I'll go ahead to draw a straight line connecting from the top of my pattern to the lower part of my pattern. So after I'm done doing that, the next step is to go ahead and take my dart intake. I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides of my under bust, at my waist, and also at my top length. So for this pattern I'm using a straight dart. So if you're a plus size, you're going to go ahead and use 1.5 inches on your under bust, waist, and top length. So I'll go ahead and connect my pattern to the lower part, and after that I'm going to place my curve drew connecting from my bust down to my under bust, and I'm going to repeat this same process at the other side of my pattern and blend in this part very well. Now I'll go ahead and use my marker to outline this so that it's going to be very visible for you to see. So after I'm done outlining this pattern with my marker, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead and place my tape. I'm going to determine where I want my cup to start. So I marked 1.5 inches on top, and I'm going to go ahead to mark that same nipple to nipple divided by 2, extend my line. Now I'll be marking 1 inch for my dart intake at both sides, and after that I'll place my curve drew and connect at both sides of my pattern also. So after I'm done connecting, the next step is just to go ahead and mark my bust or my body circumference. So I'm going to place my tape, and I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. My bust is 33 divided by 4. I have 8.3. I'll mark. Measure the dart intake I have at this point, replace it, and add my sewing allowance. At the under bust, I'll mark the under bust circumference divided by 4, which is 28 divided by 5. I have 7. Measure the dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance. At the waist, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance. At the top length, I'll be marking my hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and add my sewing allowance. After I'm done doing this, I'm just going to go ahead to connect from the bust down to the under bust and down to the waistline, then connect it to the top length this way. So this is what I have after I'm done connecting, and I'm going to go ahead to use my marker to outline it to make it more visible for you to see. So after I'm done doing this, the next step is to go ahead and draw out the neckline of my pattern. So I'll be starting from my bust line and connect to the top, and I'll reconnect this at this point this way. and I'll go ahead to use my marker to mark this out. So this is what I have. From here I'll go up by ½ inch, connect to the underbust, and go up by 1 inch, then reconnect it to this side. So at this point at the lower part, I'll mark 2 inches upwards and I'll connect. So getting to this point, I'll make sure what I have is a bit straight. So after connecting, I'll go ahead to label my pattern as side and center, and also label my cup. So yeah, you just want to make an indication that there is a sleeve or a beading on top of your pattern. So after that, I'll just go ahead and I will cut out my pattern. So at this point, if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also leave your comment at the comment section or any question you have pertaining this tutorial. So after I'm done cutting out my pattern, this is what I have. So next we'll be moving over to the back pattern, and on the back pattern I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements just like we did for the front. So now I'm going to be marking my nipple to nipple divided by 2 just like we did, and after that I'm going to go ahead to draw a straight line from the upper part of my pattern to the lower part this way. So after that, I'm going to be marking my dart intake. I'll mark ½ inch or at my waistline, and I'm going to come down by 1 inch from my bust, and I will connect to that part on top of my pattern. So after I'm done connecting, I'll also do this at the other side. Now I'll be extending the dart to the lower side of my pattern this way, and I'll go ahead also to reconnect on the other side. So after I'm done reconnecting, the next step is just to go ahead and insert my body measurement. So my bust circumference divided by 4 is 8.3, which is 33 divided by 4, 8.3, and I'll mark my dart intake. At the waistline, I'm going to mark the waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, mark, and add my sewing allowance. At the top length, I'll go ahead and mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. So after I'm done doing that, I'll just go ahead to place my curved rule from the upper part of my pattern, connect it down to the waistline, and I'll go ahead to extend it to my hip point this way. So after I'm done connecting, this is what I have. So I'm just going to go ahead to divide what I have here into 2. This is just to add a styling to my pattern, or you can just leave your back pattern as basic as this. So after cutting this out, this is what I have, and next step I'll just go ahead to mark my lacing bar area. I'll be using 1.5. so this 1.5 is not a standard. You can use 2 inches or more. It just depends on what you want. So I'm just going to go ahead to place my rule, and I'm going to connect, drawing a straight line at this point. So after I'm done connecting, I'm just going to go ahead to use my marker to indicate that that is the lacing bar area of my pattern. And after I'm done doing that, the next step is just to go ahead to come down by ½ inch, and I'll reconnect it so that by the time you lace up your dress, it won't be popping up on that part. And I'll just go ahead to draw this out, and I'll reconnect my pattern. So at the upper part of this pattern, you can go up by ½ inch just like we did for the front pattern. So at the lower part, I went up by 1 inch, and after that I reconnected it, and when I was cutting it out, I went up again by 1 inch, because what we had in the front pattern, I went up by 2 inches at the front pattern. So whatever you do to the front pattern, you also do it to the back pattern. So now I'll just go ahead and cut out this pattern first before I'll go ahead and readjust the lower part, and I'll also label it so that you don't misplace each one for the other one.
This one I better do me, I no get time. Cover my face, calling me big man wait to what's it going?
So after I'm done cutting out my pattern, this is what I have. So I'm going to readjust this part again. I'm going to readjust the lower part of my pattern because the back pattern is usually lower than the front pattern. This is just to enable you sit properly when you're wearing the dress. So after I'm done cutting this out, also I'm going to also go ahead and place my tape, and I'll be taking out 1 inch again. Remember, we took out 2 inches from the front lower part of the body. So now I'll place this tape and I'll take out that 1 inch again, making it 2 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark that and I will reconnect. So after I'm done reconnecting, I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. So just make sure that it matches what you have at the other part. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial.